that during the month of November 2011, the armed gangs were already inhibiting the normal work of the schools, and Yusuf Azmi school is cited. You have it under this red rectangle. So we head to the National Hospital because we decided to go and see if really those men were beheaded. On our way, we see a car that were just smoking. It was a blast. And we heard people shouting, "There is a corpse, there is a dead man here." We noticed that immediately people were taking photos, and we heard them saying, "These are the deeds of the black battalions of Bashar al-Assad," and they were just sending this to Al Jazeera. You can see how they are taking their videos, their photos. So we continued toward the National Hospital. Meanwhile, we arrived, and you will see how corpses are until the entrance of the hospital. This day, we reported 100 corpses of innocent civilians assassinated by those armed gangs without any reason. You can see here. And now you will see something, but I will be very, very quickly. The man who was killed on our way, they brought him here. And his story is like this. There was the strike of honor. شو بيقولوا strike? إضراب الكرامة. And it was forbidden to open stores. But this man, he said, "I have a family to feed, I will open." So they made a blast. His car was blasted. They bombed his car. And they cut him in pieces under the door of his store. We were there, And I will be now very quickly, please excuse the very graphics. This was what remained of the band. This girl came and she said, "I want to talk. My companions were killed. They were in a taxi and armed men killed them. If I go out, I could be killed. Why?" And the director of the hospital, they bring us to the morgue. We see that there is a generator, big, huge generator, because there is not enough electricity for so many dead people. Here in the morgue, the corpses are laying on the ground because there is no place on the shelves. And we see people coming to bring their relatives, their suffering, their despair. And for us, it was not the end of this terrible day, it was the beginning. I took on my heart to just call the attention of the world that even if they want to change something in Syria, this way was not the good way. This squad, it was not the good way, because those people were suffering, but nobody was covering their suffering. They were killed, but nobody was covering their assassination. And until today, when I talk about this, they are telling me that I am lying. I am sure that very, very quickly after the end of of the events in Syria, there will be cases, trials, and everything will become very clear to the world. Now I will show you the fate of the civilians, because our main concern are the civilians. You see, in Syria, you have the silent majority. You have people that are involved. They want something. Of course, we respect them. But you have the silent majority. So I will show you a little bit things that maybe the mainstream media are not showing. Normally, in a non-supportive environment, and now it is the method, there is infiltration in residential areas of armed people. They transform the residential areas into a battleground. When they do this, the liberation of the area means the liberation of the inhabitant. So here in Hamidiyye and in Bustani Diwan in February 2012, the liberation meant the withdrawal of 130,000 civilians. 80,000 of them were Christian. It was the first exodus of Christian in Syria. And you have the degradation of the habitat. Why? Because it's a battle. So people, they take the road of exile. In the beginning, they had buses and they had cars. But today, they have nothing. They just, if they can flee, they will flee through fields and without nothing, sometimes bare feet, like in Ras Al Ain, like in Ghassaniya, like in Yaqubiyya, like in Sadad, like in Dar Atiyya, like now in Nebek. So, you know, the Syrian people that I know, I am living in Syria since 20 years, is a self-sufficient people. There is no poor. There are no poors. I haven't seen one poor in all my life in Syria. So you have to put yourself instead of those people who are very proud to be sufficient. And in one day, they become in need for assistance. So you see this family, they are waiting so that somebody will take them into a shelter, and they will need to be assisted, relieved. They will have to stand in queues to have their food, to sign. Those who have a little bit of money could rent houses, slums, somewhere in populous neighborhood like in Jaramana, and they will suffer continuous shelling. And worse than the shelling, they will suffer this blind violence of the car blasts. And here I would like to really raise my voice and ask why there is no denial of such violence. Because those people are not normal human beings, or because they are not framed in some political interest. And so you have families that are weeping their deaths. You will not find today one single Syrian family without casualties. The human toll, death toll, is very high. And beside this, you have the cultural toll. You see, those people that come from 80 countries, they are destroying the cultural heritage of Syria. Because there is a kind of will like in Iraq, to wipe off the memory of Syria. Syria is among the most civilized countries in the world. Damascus is the most ancient, permanently inhabited capital of the world. So they come and they destroy churches, mosques, shrines, even synagogues. The most ancient synagogue in the world is in Jobar, in Damascus. It has been destroyed. This is Zinnar, where the belt of the Virgin is kept under custody. And the mass destructions, the ongoing conflict, and the sneaking of the fighters inside residential areas, which is contrary to the Convention of Geneva, brings, war to residential areas. So you have the mass destructions. Planes are shelling, yes, we have to say it, and heavy shellings. You see, the Mughal did not do what those people have done in Aleppo. You have archaeological sites that are completely ruined, like Apamea. And lately, 3 weeks ago, they entered in Saint Simeon, the Stylid shrine, and they destroyed many things inside. We don't know what is happening in Ma'lula, because nearby the Safir Hotel, we have one of the most, I think the most ancient churches in the world. It's Saint Sarkis Ebachos Church. It's from the 2nd century. And you have a beautiful set of icons from the Arabic era. We don't know if they are still there or not. I would like also to share with you a plague, the fundamentalists. The Islamic extremist was created, excuse me to say it, but it's not a secret, under the supervision of United States of America to topple the Russian intervention, the Russian USSR presence in Afghanistan. So the Taliban were created and helped, and also Al-Qaeda. It is fueled by clerics, it is financed by Gulf countries, it is supported, we are not understanding how it comes that it is supported by France, England, and Turkey, and there is a compromise with the Arab League, and of course, a blessing from Israel. You have sheikhs that fuel with their speeches and their teaching the fundamentalism. It's exclusivist, it is discriminatory, and we are very surprised that the civilized world do not take a stand against this fundamentalism. In Syria, the Free Syrian Army is completely overwhelmed by thousands of fighters coming from 80 countries, and they are hijacking its role. In an article, The Economist, they listed more than 2,000 groups described by Mr. Fabius as heteroclite and disordered. And you have the list, Those battalions do not obey to one head. And so they work in total impunity because nobody can say who has done anything. Nevertheless, some of them, their leaders, when they are known, are very welcomed by the mainstream media, and they are recruiting all over the Western world. You have many articles that are very actual. And they, are received as stars and very respectful persons by, the Al Jazeera. Mahdi al-Harati is Irish. He is originally Libyan, and he is the assistant of the governor of Tripoli. They are from Al-Qaeda. Now, the shifting of the Syrian revolution is also something we have to consider. You see, everybody told the world that the Syrian population was uprising for freedom and democracy. But today, the reality is no more freedom and democracy. Maybe outside Syria, in the head of the supporter of the Syrian revolution, yes. But inside Syria, the ongoing rule of the Islamic fighters is no more for freedom and democracy. The British newspaper, the Daily Mail, refers that he protested before a chief of the rebels against the barbaric methods used with the captives, torture and ritual beheading. The chief answered, "We do not seek freedom and democracy, but the Islamic Caliphate." Caliphate means kingdom. Now, the problem of the Islamic fundamentalism is the violence. Here, it is a video, but I cannot make it work because I have no internet. Sheikh Abdus-Salam Harba is giving the preach of the Friday in the mosque, and he is saying, the one who will not obey to the Islamic Sharia will be beheaded on the sewage. And beheadings are becoming a normal behavior. Now, in Aleppo, in Raqqa, in Deir ez-Zor, instead of having centers for culture, for teaching freedom, democracy, and everything that will develop the Syrian capacities, we have the committees for the obligation of goodness and prohibition of evil that are a Wahhabite tainted movement. And the characteristic of those committees is to oblige the civilian population to follow a behavior maybe they would not choose it. So you also consider if here someone would oblige you to get dressed like this, to pray like this, etc. The consequences of the war in Syria are roaring. Here in 2012, and now you compare with what is happening today, it's 4 to 5 times more. So where do we go, dear friends? For us, we cannot stay neutral.